and we are in Palm Beach, Florida, very close to what you see right there, which is another rendition, portion of the beautiful Mar-a-Lago estate. And I guess what would we call it? The Winter White House, the second White House, or something.
Winter White House, that's right.
The Winter White House. I think that's what we'd have to call it. Some people would, when a president had a summer house, they would say, I think Roosevelt had a summer White House. I picked up this fact about Minnesota, which we're going to go into in great detail in a moment, but just this one fact alone. In the city of Minnesota, there's one address that has 14 different daycares operating in the one set of rooms. It is a singular daycare center, but it has 14 different named daycares. I didn't get the number of kids theoretically being funded, but most of the funding for children in Minnesota, we now have learned, is theoretical, because it goes directly to the Somali thieves and possibly some sticking on the hands of the Minnesota politicians, certainly by way of campaign contributions for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if in other ways. In fact, I'd be shocked if it wasn't in other ways. 14 daycare centers in one place in Minneapolis. Now, in the twin city of St. Paul, which is a little smaller than Minneapolis, I just don't want you to think, we've been always saying Minneapolis, Somalis in Minneapolis. Somalis in St. Paul are just as crooked. They have one office, one daycare address, office, place, that has 22 different daycare centers. If either one of them has one daycare center, it's a lot. Because the ones being visited by Nick that we saw on the tape, and we'll see again tonight, nobody's seen any kids going in there in 2-3 years, although they're pulling down 9 million, 10 million, 14 million, 18 million a year. This is a hell of a scam. I mean, I've seen social welfare scams, and over time they steal way more than that. But just one alone doing 14 million, 15 million, that's a big time fraud. These people may have come from the jungle and be uncivilized, but they sure know how to steal, big time. And they know how to cover it up, and they know how to play the game. They know how to play the frighten Whitey game. Get Whitey to be a pussy. I'll call you a racist. I'll call you a xenophobe, since the guy doesn't know what it means. He's even more worried by that. He doesn't know what's going to happen to him if they go around calling him a xenophobe. And he's probably, since he's a Democrat, probably afraid that he is one or two of those things. Look, he comes from a racist political party, right? Isn't that a bad start? I mean, you call him a racist and he comes from the party of racism. So that might be an effective thing. Now, Nick Shirley put this together with the help of a gentleman that he has on the tape, who obviously has done massive work that easily could have been done by the state. Now, their doing this goes back over 10 years. But let's start off with Nick explaining it, because he explains it better than anyone. Then we'll take you back and we'll show you it has a history. This is going to be a criminal case of major proportions. It's a built-in, made-for RICO racketeering case because it has a big history. And racketeering cases like histories. So let's take a look. And this is a big racketeering enterprise, by the way. Should we play some of it?
Yep. mind, Nick, explaining along with David what's happening in Minnesota?
This is Nick Shirley.
It is far worse than anybody can imagine. You heard it's 7 to 10 billion and maybe more, and now the numbers have been revised and put out there publicly that they think it's more like 8 billion. How I got involved is that where my office is here in Minneapolis, I'm sort of in the heart of all of this fraud, and I would see these child care centers. I said, well, there aren't any kids there. It's the middle of the day, and all I see are a couple of guys standing out front smoking. And then I'd go by another daycare and I'd see the same thing. I said, well, where do these kids play? And so I started to go online and look, and I said, this place is licensed for 80 children. They had 0 children. Every time I went by there, they never had a single child there. Then I started to see all these transportation companies going around, and it was always a Somali driver. And I said, well, that's great. They're out there transportation, contributing, but they never had a passenger, never, ever once. And I said, well, what is all this transportation? What are they doing? So then I found out that in Minnesota, they have something called non-emergency medical transportation. So this is going to the dentist's office, therapy, whatever it might be. And I said, well, how many of these companies are there? And the research came back that there are 1,020 of them, and more than 800 of them are Somali-owned. Nobody from the state of Minnesota ever cross-checks to see if any rides were ever actually provided. All they did was write the check.
So right here we have all this paperwork. And how are you getting all this information about the fraud?
A lot of it is through my own research. And then I have some contacts at the Capitol going back many, many years. And so the data that I'm getting is 100% accurate, coming directly from research done by people at the state Capitol.
All this paperwork right here, what are we looking at?
The areas of fraud that I have numbers for are mostly related to childcare. This is massive fraud that is beyond anyone's imagination, the scope. And so, for example, there's a childcare not far from here in Minneapolis that has two childcares listed at the same address. And together, they're licensed supposedly for 120 children. I have never seen a single child there ever, and I've been by that place at least 100 times.
These Somalians, these groups are setting up these daycares, these childcare centers, getting money from the government, but there's no kids.
No kids. Never had any of them. They're all fraught with violations, and even though they have these violations, they're still in operation and they're still getting money. And it's millions of dollars for every one of them every year.
And who's getting the money? And where are they getting the money from?
So we have a thing called CCAP. It's a blend of federal and state money. The bottom line is it's taxpayer money, so it's state money and it's federal money. And the problem is the people at the state of Minnesota are the ones writing the checks. This is kind of the maddening thing is you have daycare, so you have adult daycare, and then you have child care, and then you have health care. And a lot of these same names keep coming up on all of these different types of businesses. And then, of course, we have the transportation, and a lot of those same names appear, a lot of the same addresses. There's one building that has 14 Somali healthcare companies at the same address. There's another building in St. Paul that has 22 Somali healthcare businesses at the same address.
And the government knows about this?
The government knows, they're writing the checks. Yeah, the Democrats over there just writing the checks. What has happened is that the Somali community is a very closed community. They will not speak to anyone outside the community and talk about what's going on within the community. They vote as a block. And so when you're a politician, you're saying, look, I've got 100,000 people in Minnesota that if I do something for the community, they're going to vote for me. And that's what it's all about, is getting the votes. And then the people here in Minnesota, you hear this term, Minnesota nice. I'm so sick of that term. The people here are so afraid of being called a racist or an Islamophobe, and they're afraid of their own shadow. And I don't understand. This is our future generations are going to have to pay for all this fraud, and they just want to bury their heads in the sand and go on and just not worry about it. Tim Walz saying there's organized crime in Minnesota. What did he do about it? Nothing. You got organized crime? What are you doing? This is the Minnesota law, which mandates that anyone who knows of fraud and is a state
It really outlines it better than anything could. It gives you all the elements of a massive fraud. And the numbers are piling up day by day. I've seen very, very big government frauds, massive government frauds in the area of social welfare, however. These numbers are extraordinary. But it does explain a bigger picture to you, doesn't it? I mean, it's a picture that I've always known, never been able to prove because it's, first of all, maybe to be impossible to prove completely. And number two, I just never had the concentration or time to do it. But I believe that this is the whole history of how communism, socialism, Marxism, democratic left-wing politics have used the poor people of America the way the earlier Democratic Party used the slaves of America. And this is to keeping them poor. And I think it all started with the most overrated president in American history, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And hopefully it ended with the properly rated worst president in history, Joe Biden. The money aspect of it is frightening and has an impact on the fact that our children and grandchildren and us are paying an enormous debt financially and even with our national security, because it deprives us of some of the resources we need for the complete and fulsome national security that we may need in the future. But more than anything else, it deprives us of an honest country. And if it works right, which is the way it was intended by the communists around Roosevelt, if it works right, it'll destroy the United States. It'll create a world government run by a communist group, probably the Chinese. That's the whole purpose of this. And Somali plays its role as a completely corrupt, top to bottom government. And the people themselves, if they're not corrupt top to bottom, there are so few that aren't that it doesn't make that much difference. And this is not new. This has been going on since 2014, 2013. It does involve different kinds of government. I mean, they're stealing from every bag available: adult care, daycare, health care, child care, all of them. It's the same formula, so it's easy. You set up maybe you set up some real ones, so you have some appearance in the game, but then you set up massive numbers of phony ones, like the one I told you in Minnesota. There are 8 at one site. Maybe there's a single one there. Now, I think Nick was telling you, and Dave were telling you of some where they set up 2 and 3 and 4, and there's no children there ever. And they're tossing money in for 700, 800 children every year. So a nice, clean 6 million, 7 million, 8 million, 10 million is coming in per year. Cost on that, nothing. The price of just going in, putting your application, and because you're a Somali, nobody questions you, nor do they ever come and check. Now, if you're giving, don't they have to know? Isn't that why they're not checking? I mean, it just as a matter of logic, if you're giving out that much money to take care of children, you're constantly inspecting. I mean, isn't it odd that, some of these centers, you get enormous numbers of violations. I imagine the ones that have no children don't get any violations. So you're handing out $12 million a year to take care of, I don't know how many kids, 200 kids, and you get no violations from 100 of them. You get no violations because there's nobody there. Or do they put in phony violations and resolve them? I don't know. It might be that sophisticated. And do they pay off the inspection workers? They sure would in New York. The building inspectors were getting paid off no matter what you did. But when you see figures like 1,020 child care centers, 800 of which are Somali, you say to yourself, only Somali kids go to daycare? And what is this?
Where are all the kids?
Yeah, and then when you see that many, you've got to say there must be some degradation of quality of service. Let's go check. Well, there is no degradation of quality of service because there is no service. You pay now. And these contracts also have subcontracts that run on the millions of dollars. Generally, a daycare contract, a healthcare contract, a homeless contract, an illegal alien contract contains the base money and then money for subcontracting. Most daycare centers do not do their own security. They have a security company that takes care of that. They don't do their own transportation. They have a transportation company. They either have a transportation company that does that, or they negotiate with a transportation company that does that. They don't do their own catering. They have a catering company that comes in, or as part of their company, they set up a catering company because some of these people have 4, 5, and 6 of these leases and are running 4, 5, and 6 daycare centers. Now, just think if you're running 5 daycare centers, but you're actually only running 1 and the other 4 is just pass-through money for you to become a multimillionaire and to pay off the politicians. That's what's going on here. And it's going on here to the tune of, it began at $1 billion. It's now at 9. And I've seen numbers up to 15 and 20, which would make it bigger than the GDP of the crooked country they come from. I think, which is 12 billion, is it?
It's 12 billion. Right.
So they're right near there already. I mean, and probably helped their country a great deal because they send a lot of the money there and they send it there for illegal purposes. But the government is not known for its, let's say the government is not known for its honesty. So the odds are they've got their government beat too. The center that I guess is the most interesting in a way because it exemplifies everything. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's supposed to say Learning Center, but if you look at the sign, right, it's misspelled. The Learning Center. The Learning Center. Well, the Learning Center, until today, the people that there, and we'll put a few of them on that have interviewed, have never seen a child there. But some kids showed up today. They didn't seem to know where they were or what they were doing. But we may have some pictures of that. There it is. Oh, they're changing the name now.
Fixing the name here. A new name.
Did they spell it right this time, or did they get it wrong again?
Right, we have them.
One of them is Mako, which you see on the sign. The other one is Mini Child Care Center. And between the two of these child care centers, they're pulling in about $3 million a year. And there are no children. Every facility that you go to, the windows will be blocked out so you can't see in. There's nobody here. You won't see a single child at any of these facilities.
There are indeed no windows. All the windows are blacked out right here. All right, let's go in.
No.
And the child care center is locked. Should we ring the doorbell?
Yeah.
Try to get in, rang the doorbell. Nobody showed up. They're open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. it says here on their sign, yet there's absolutely nobody here. And this building here, right here, has generated millions of dollars, and it seems like business isn't even open right now, and it's a weekday. And if this was a daycare center, it wouldn't just be in some industrialized building. There would be maybe like a playground or something outside, or...
There's no play area for the kids. So Where are the kids? Where's anybody? How can there be nobody here? And it's like this every single day. I've never seen a single child here. In 9 years, I've never seen a single child.
9 years.
Right there.
Oh, then now it looks like we already got the Somalis coming
Yeah,
through.
they're coming. The word's out.
Hello, is this your daycare?
No. Can you tell us why there are no children? Have you ever seen children at this child care center?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Doesn't know if she's ever seen a child here. All right, let's go to the next location.
And the fraud only gets more
just stop for a
from
moment?
here. Make sure you stay to the
Well, that would be as good an answer that it is in a day camp. If she doesn't know if she's ever seen a child there. If it's the daycare center, you're not going to forget that you saw children there. It means they're there so rarely that. Let's go back to tampon red Chinese Tim. You think he's doing this because he's a red Chinese communist and wants to hurt America?
Right.
Why do they keep leaving out his connections to the red Chinese party?
Right.
That is so.
One friend with nearly just 100 followers get a video up to 30,000 views. And it's super simple to use. All you do is you upload a video or copy a back into the video. Now we're going to the next daycare center. How much money has this one generated?
This one, in fiscal year 2025, $1,042,059. In fiscal year 2024, $1,059,078. And in fiscal year 2023, $727,336.
This next one is literally one block away, and this one's also generated nearly $3 million in the past 3 years. Let's see if there's any children. Let's see if any of the buildings are open. Here we go. All right, we've arrived to ABC Learning Center. All the windows are blacked out. Let's see if anybody is here. This door is locked.
This facility is licensed for 40 children. 0 children. I've come by this place 100 times. I've never seen a child here, ever. The only thing I've ever seen is someone standing outside smoking.
What's crazy about this is that last daycare center is that green building right there. And the other daycare center right now is right here. These buildings should be operating as they're receiving literally millions of dollars.
I knocked on the door, and to my surprise, somebody actually answered the door.
Hello? Can we speak? I would like to check a child in the daycare.
Why?
Can I speak to a manager? Where can I get paperwork to file for my son? I wanted to put my son Joey in daycare.
And after a few questions, the lady went silent.
Looks like little Joey Shirley ain't going to daycare here. And now where are we going?
Now we're going to Sweet Angel Child Care.
We're in the middle of a strip mall here inside of this neighborhood.
In fiscal year 2025, this facility, which says it's licensed for 74 kids, was paid $1.26 million in tax money. And there are no kids, and all the facilities are the same way, all of them.
Let's see if anyone opens.
Yeah, let's see.
Once again, I tried to find a spot for my son Joey, and they would not open the door.
I want to put my son Joey in daycare. Cause I need a spot to put my son Joey.
Yes.
Is this your daycare center?
No, I work there. What's happened?
I just want to put a child in daycare, but all the daycare centers seem to be closed. No one's opening the doors.
You work here?
I was, yeah. What's happened?
Where are the kids?
Yeah?
It says it's licensed for 74 children. Right here, state of Minnesota. Where are the kids? They
Yeah.
got paid $1.26 million in fiscal year 2025. It says they have a capacity for 74 children.
When? No, when?
Where are the kids? Right here. State of Minnesota website. You work here and you don't know?
I don't know. I was there before. I don't know what's going on.
Were there any kids when you worked here?
He's there. Kids there. What's
How
happened?
many?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah.
You worked here. Okay, well then you're not of any help.
Can I put my son in a daycare here?
No, I don't know.
Can I speak to someone?
No, I don't know.
No? Yeah, I would like to see if I can put my son Joey here.
Who's your son, Joey?
My son Joey. Can I check out daycare center?
I'm gonna do my son.
No!
Here,
You're a
Marcia.
liar. I'm the owner.
Do you put your kid here in this daycare?
No.
There is one child in there. Yeah, I'd like to know if this is a legit business.
Me, I'm scared of you too. How come I explain you everything?
You're scared of me?
Yeah.
Why?
Because of your curry.
Because of my color. You said you're scared of me because of my color. Does that make you a racist?
Yeah, no.
But
No,
you said you're
I'm
scared of
not
me because
saying
of my
nothing.
color.
I'm not saying you're racist.
You said you're scared of me because of my color. That makes you a racist. So right now,
This is my
they're all
tax
getting
money.
mad because he's showing the
I
paperwork
don't
of
know
this
that.
business being registered as a business. 74 children,
I've
no
lived my whole
children.
life
We
here.
saw one child when the lady opened up the door.
So
But now
where did
they're
this
all
money
getting mad.
go? What was this money spent on? 1.26 million. What was that money spent
ask
on?
the owner.
There aren't any kids.
Ask the owner and the kids.
Well, then why are you talking
That's
for the
not my
owner
proof.
if you're
That's
telling me
not
to
my-
talk?
It's hard to believe, isn't it? But we're talking about through that pass, at least 9 million, could be as much as $15 million got away, and nothing was done for anybody. It was there for phony reasons, and they used it for other purposes, and they took the money for themselves and bought homes and resorts and wineries and became really wealthy. And these kids were left without anything until public school was able to phase in and start taking over, which it does earlier now. Did Tim Walz know about this? Well, the first fraud that they documented goes back to these flying men who would fly airplanes, and then when I guess they had nothing to do with the airplanes, for a very small fee, they would they would take you down to the pool. And after that was over with, they either had you and your family, or they may have had you. It might have been an attempt to seduce you, or to take you over, or to change your mind, or make you into a worker for them, or worse than that. But it was a very, very well organized, very, very greedy operation that operated with the help of two people. Operated and they had help, to do it. So let's take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Short message.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal, 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. We've been talking about Minnesota and the unbelievable amount of the fraud. Of course, the debate now is about how much is the fraud amount to, and $9 billion seems to be the amount that they're up to. But with every indication that it could go as high as 15 or $20 billion, which would make the fraud more than the entire GDP of the crooked little island country of Somalia. And they sure brought their crookedness here. Now, this is not focusing on them as white or black or pink or whatever. What they are people that come from a highly corrupt, highly dishonest society, and they bring their propensity for criminality here to America. And of course, the Americans, out of policy choices that are Marxist, policy choices that are clearly anti-American, policy choices that are racially motivated, both in favor of them and against white people and Christian people and decent people, people who keep a set of fairly sensible, rigid rules, right? They rebel. They're not incorporating that. They're going the other way. The earliest date that this really started to fester was about 2014, when people started to find out about it. That didn't stop it very much. So by 2017, they were becoming very controversial, and the government of Minnesota stepped in. The government of Minnesota stepped in, and the government of Minnesota arrested a whole bunch of them that were running these daycare centers with nobody in them except themselves and their money. And that led to the large numbers that we now have in prison. Something like 800 prosecutions, 800 indictments, or something like 1,400 prosecutions and 800 cases. Now, I've also seen it written as convictions, but we'll try to clarify that. We'll try to clarify that for you. But Minnesota sent its I think it was in Minnesota, but Minnesota hosted a conference in which they talked about people who could step in for mayors that were old, always do that, but also mayors who were qualified. And, they were trying internally to straighten this out before anybody else caught on to it, because none of them thought they had quite the immunity that Roosevelt had. Little do they know that what had begun was the whole process of two-tier justice, which is immunity for all the Democrats who are in public office and hold a badge, even though the badge might not be an official city one, because they're one of their relatives who helped to develop the trolley car and everything else got involved in this as the best guy to tell them who are the right people to do this to. And he was frightened and he didn't want to do it, and he did it very, very gingerly, just enough so he could get away with it. And then he went to prison, as he should have. And now that he's gotten out of prison, he's working against these groups and trying to stop them, which I think is a good thing. That there are more than a few situations like that. There's no lecture by me that is going to get you not to do it if you are inclined to do it. There is something else I can do, though. We can pray. We can pray that anyone tempted by tempted by anything, the ease with which you can get this money, the beautiful climate you can live in, but you have to do this in Minnesota. They're not going to do this in Florida. But they set up the daycare centers anywhere. It's like stealing your kids away from you. Now, Wouldn't this all seem very strange if I told you that when this particular candidate ran for office, she had no money, and then she ran on enormous amounts of money obtained from these schools and the school's patrons and the people around her. And she had no background in education either. And it was Ilhan Omar who came here sometime when she was about 8 years old from Somalia, of course, yeah. And she it looks pretty clear now was married to. She wasn't married to someone. She had sort of a common law relationship with someone and a child. Now that seemed to be the person she was in love with, and she would live with him. But then she married her brother while she was here. That gave her brother a leg up on being able to stay here. And then eventually, either while she was pregnant with her first child or right before she got pregnant with her first child, she had her first baby, and then she had another child. And I think that's it. I don't know as far as she is going. But here's the thing about her. She now has a new husband. She's on husband number 3, or officially husband number 2 with an asterisk. She looks like she was in love with all these guys. And what? Kid Minette is the current happy guy, and he's happy because his bank account keeps getting fixed up. Before he married her, he had this real estate company, and it looks like it wasn't doing any of much business. And after we got involved and we started looking for people to help, we started to realize what the heck is going on here. I mean, this guy knows nothing about daycare. He got into daycare because his crooked girlfriend, who makes sure the money comes out to the right people, so he did some catering as a subcontractor on catering for some of the gigantic nursing home. So she was here in Washington when she was here rather in Minnesota. She was in Minnesota really to pick up clients, I guess. That's her. That's the thing that she does. Now, what her involvement is with the nursing homes, I don't know. Does she own some? Is she involved in the management of them or the running of them? Does she know nothing about that? And all she is a political fixer. I think that will be coming out. But here's the thing that's going to have to be explained. Before the second scheme started, there was an earlier scheme that she probably was also aware of. But when the second scheme started, she had very little, if anything, in her accounts. Within a year, she's in the $1 million category. Within 2 years, she's at 20 or 30 million. She's a very rich woman. And so is Tim Minette, who never made it at any business venture. And did some very, very good work for her in concealing the fact that she was getting money and that this was all hooked up plot. But there are now tape recordings also that we obtained about complaining about how little money she was getting. Greedy little, you know what, huh? So Omar and hubby become millionaires in a year of going into Congress. He keeps his same very, very small bore restaurant in Coney Island, and she stays in her there with all of the daycare center people. Not that she's ever seen running one. Be interesting for her to tell us what she saw on the street that other people didn't when they started seeing the streets empty of kids that are, after all, the producers of the money. But that's all going to be found out. It's cracking like a sieve now. It's going to fall apart really quickly. think we're going to see indictments very, very quickly. And they're focusing, obviously, they're focusing on her. Her net worth now is about, I'll get the exact number for you.
We're over 30 million, I mean.
I think that's right, but let's see what it is. She built it in 3 years from a net worth of 55 million to 155 million, and then another 25 million, all in 1 year. Rose's Lake Capital, which was a useless finance company, as soon as she made the deal for the government being involved in the funding of many of the homes, Rosemar Capital was about to close, and all of a sudden, it was a company with $25–30 million in the bank. No one knows where that money came from. It is. It really is. It's going to be. We're going to need charts, and we're going to need surveys, and we're going to need economic analysis for all of this. So, do we want to look at?
I'm trying to bring this up.
We want to look at one of them.
What do you want to look at next? Sorry.
I think it would be worth taking a look at this this situation in someone explaining the situation in Minnesota, or.
Here's another clip from Nick. I don't have anything on Ilhan Omar. We can find something. Here's something, Nick. Some more from Nick's investigation in Minnesota.
You have 102 children here, and you got $2.66 million this year in funding, and $2.5 million last year. We're just wondering where the kids are.
And who are you?
My name's Nick Shirley.
Nick Shirley.
And where which department? That is harassment.
Oh, we are from ourselves.
Yeah.
Hello, we'd like to ask where the money's going. Look at that. Shut us down. Where are the children at? No children inside of this daycare center. And look at this daycare center right here. No children inside of this daycare center. But between those buildings, over $2.6 million. We were just curious, where are the children at? Do you know where the children are at? Where are the children at in these daycare centers?
I don't care.
How can these child care centers have no children?
I don't know. No.
There's $2.6 million inside these businesses that were given by the government, but there's no children to be seen anywhere. People deserve to know where their taxes are going. If these companies and these daycare centers are making upwards of $2.6 million and there's no children to be seen anywhere, something fraudulent is happening. And that is not make you racist, Islamophobic. This is just the truth of what's happening here in Minnesota. If there's a bunch of white people doing the same thing, we'd be talking about the same issue. This is just fraud at unprecedented levels here inside Minnesota. It's actually very concerning. Where are the children at inside of these buildings? They're nowhere to be seen. Millions of dollars are being sent into these daycare centers all across Minnesota, and there's not a child to be seen anywhere. Here's another daycare center inside this same building.
We don't want you to be videotaping anything.
Where is all the money going for if there's no children at these daycare centers?
Sir,
Yes.
I told you, please leave.
Yes, we have a question though. Where is the children at these daycare centers if there's millions of dollars?
Ask the local government, yeah.
Oh, we've asked. We have the paper here. So we're wondering where the money and where the children are at. We have the paper right here. Come here.
Who are you, first of all?
My name's Nick Shirley.
You don't have any permission to record me, period.
Can we talk outside?
You don't have permission to record.
She doesn't either have. She doesn't have permission to record me.
No, you cannot stop people on the street and question them.
We can ask.
You don't have any permission.
Where are the children?
I will sue you. You don't have any permission. We have nothing to do with this. You understand?
Then are there
So leave. Please leave.
Are there children here?
Please leave.
Where are the children? $2.6 million for a daycare center.
You ask whoever you think is doing that. You don't know what you're talking about. So leave. Leave.
Tell us what's happening here then.
I said leave.
We're wondering what's
We
happening.
are not a child care. We are nothing to do with it. We're common people walking. And
Yes,
you are.
we're not accusing you. We're asking where the children are at.
Don't ask me anything.
We're not
I'm
accusing
gonna
you.
answer.
We're asking the daycare centers.
I am not going to answer. You have.
Where are the children at?
Leave.
We just want to know where are the children.
Who you work for?
My name's Nick Shirley.
Who do you work for?
I work for myself, Nick Shirley.
Okay, what are you recording?
We're wondering where are the children? $2.66 million for.
You're not.
This is pathetic. This is absolutely pathetic. I mean, this should have been 10 years ago or 5 years ago. And of course, the money would have been sorted out. And maybe if they were deprived of this larceny by trick or this crime, they would have had to assimilate in the United States. Although remember, there's also the Muslim barrier here. So they're taught to hate us. They're taught to hate Jews. They're taught to hate Christians. They're taught to kill us, much less, why not steal from us? So none of this, they would, they would not consider it wrong. The reason they're hiding is because we consider it wrong.
Well, Tim Walz, he alluded, this clip takes on a whole new meaning now, considering all of the fraud that's being uncovered. This is Tim Walz during the debates with.
Well, you should know that Tim Walz in February of 2024 was informed by a state legislature. Her name was Kristen Robbins, who held a hearing in February of 2024 and found out some of this, and it was a substantial number, that there were daycare centers and the state was just giving them contracts. The state was asking for no proof. The state was asking for no backup, no audit, nothing. Didn't care how they were doing with the kids. And that there were thousands of these in the state. And she listed a bunch of them at a hearing and went to the governor, Tampon Tim, and told him about it. And from then on, she was shut out through scuttlebutt. She found out that some people were indeed being investigated, but the objective was to fix the case. And she will testify to that. She'll tell you who did it, who said it. We'll just add to the 50 or others that already have gone to prison. Now, Omar came over here broke. Then she had a child with a man who she stayed with for a bit when she was here. Then she broke from him. Then she married her brother. And now she's married to this O'Malley guy who's cashing in big time on this. Cashing in really big time. Now, how far along are they with the Somali investigation in Ohio? I don't know. It's obviously, it would be silly to say the tip of the iceberg. They've taken in 40, 50 people. That's a lot more than an iceberg.
Well, this is Representative Robbins on Fox News with Lawrence Jones, and Lawrence Jones asked a very good question. So let's maybe some of you have the same question.
What's your?
It's been going on for a while. Why are we just now learning about this?
Well, in Minnesota, we've known about it from local journalists for at least many years, and different reports have been done by the Office of Legislative Auditor. But it just got national attention, and how he made it through the vetting process when this was not a hidden secret. We have been fighting fraud here for a year, so I do not know why he was selected for the national ticket.
It irks the hell out of me that he shouldn't have been selected because of his connections with China, which are dangerously close. 30 trips, part of a special CCP study group put up at Harvard. Loved China, was given money to bring back 50 kids every year for an American education. This is perfect Marxism, worked out beautifully. The greed of man took over, and boy, they just fell like stuffed pigs. They're worth today, she and her husband together, $30 million? No, she owes I don't know. I don't know how much she owes, but she has stock now. She's making a big play right now with a which is a which looks to be like a front also. So the winery that she owned, she also actually had done fairly well with, and it went down in value from a loss of 1 million to a loss of 5 million, and then 99 million since in 2023. So I don't know if they're going to pay attention to it. But their businesses are pet stores, as well as his business of running a delivery service. They do the cooking, I believe, and send out the food. The whole situation, which is quite unfortunate because, it's just going to be that much harder to get them back, and they've got to be brought back because they're also Islam, and Islam is biggest cause of war. Not the big ones, but a lot of the little ones that kill when they mount up an awful lot of people. And we were getting somewhere until Biden and Xi Jinping, and I got into the picture. Xi Jinping's attitude seems to be different than some of his predecessors. But given the pressure that the enormous administration is exerting on Russia, is exerting on Ukraine, and Russia is panicking to the extent of trying to kill Zelensky, I think we have a chance at a solution.
You think Russia's trying to kill Zelensky?
Do I think he's trying to kill Zelensky? No. I don't know if they want to kill him. He's a useful weakling to have around, I think. And they always knew that we were going to come to our senses at some point and figure out who he was. And they were hoping that it would be before rather than after. But now they're going to have to make a choice. They are in a position where they're going to have to make a choice of whether to move while Trump is in office or not. And I tell you, I don't think they're ready to move.
Right.
I think we're ready to take out whatever comes to the shore.
Right.
So it'll be a hell of a war, and it'll go on for a very long time.
What do you think about? So Zelensky's now claiming that the President Trump is open to U.S. boots on the ground in Ukraine. We haven't heard from the president on this. But Zelensky is claiming that the U.S. has promised boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground, or no? Or hasn't America promised backup security?
Let's see if I can get. So I'll try to get the exact.
Well, yeah, as far as I know, she's still a pacifist. She made a few exceptions to show solidarity, but she's basically a pacifist.
Zelensky says he has discussed the deployment of U.S. forces to Ukraine after a peace deal is reached. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that tip of the iceberg is too prosaic a statement and doesn't convey an awful lot, and isn't quite correct for this case. This could be the biggest fraud case of certainly of this century, and possibly of any century in the American presidency, and the saddest because it's taking money out of the mouths and the education and the clothes and the taking care of young children who are very vulnerable. It's disgusting that people can do this. It really is disgusting.
Right.
Starting in 2014, they started off with a scheme of stuffing cash in mail bags and sending it off to Safari for illegitimate uses so they can get started. And they weren't able to do quite the sophisticated numbers they were able to do later, businesses. But the first year they got away with about 84 million that way, and the second year 100. So they were really ready for the opening in the dike, which New Jersey gave them in 1914. One of the worst decisions, I think, ever made by a governor of New Jersey. And you sound like my office with the rivalry we used to have. We had one of the state candidates for state office on he wasn't on, but he was here last night. And it's interesting. I won't mention which one, so we don't get into time problems. It's interesting to see how they're evaluating all these races. They are in turmoil. You know, you start off with the midterm elections being in the favor against the incumbent by somewhat.
Right.
This one looked like it was in favor of the incumbent.
Right.
Then it switched, and now it's dead even with slight advantage Republican. That's about right. So there's a group of there were a group of sporting goods stores that are very happy that it's going to start earlier and they can start selling. Although I don't know how many people play in this weather unless they have the benefit of an indoor facility they can go to.
Yeah, right.
This is a very strange case and a very strange little tweety mousy response that it gets. That's why it's so much easier to catch these men than these women.
Which case are you referring to?
Well, I'm referring to all of these. I mean, these are all cases that are easy to state, but they're sometimes very, very hard to prove because they use so many different names, so many different documents. They move the money so many different places. It's hard to trace it sometimes. And for a bribery case, you need a pretty good chain of what's called chain of custody.
Right. Right. Makes sense.
Well, it seems like the Republican newspapers or Republican-leaning newspapers are covering it pretty fairly. The Post is covering it right down the middle today. The Mirror shows a little sympathy and a little dislike for Israel, but still, I think it sounds like it's with us. Post is always inscrutable. I don't know. I think, unfortunately, the police commissioner that was hired. The former police commissioner Ray Kelly was hired to go in and see if he could work things out toward a settlement. And it's quite possible you can. It would be a miracle if they were side popped in exactly the right place.
Yeah.
Make things a lot easier for us.
Right.
President Trump's ceremony with the prime minister rather of Israel was quite interesting, wasn't it?
It was.
In the way that he appreciated him for his learning, respected him for his learning, respected him for the control that he's given him and the abilities that he's given him, and then said to him using the very lines of the book Our Lady of Fatima, which is of course where he came from, Fatima, in northern Italy.
Right.
He said that he said that the handwritings that had been given to him by Peter and blessed, the head of the church, were the Hamburg were the I was thinking of what was given to me, not to them, but the things that were given to him at the time that he first got involved in this, when they were talking about how to organize the war, was an assurance that Trump would remain, supporting him, but not with troops on the ground, and not with direct military action. So we're at a stage now where we've gotten to the point where if Zelensky is right, the president is offering to put in troops for 15 years. That sounds strange to me. And that's what that was confusing. That was what was confusing me. I can't see how that switch takes place. I'm not against it, but I have a different position than the president on this, somewhat. And would like to see it ended, and kind of think that it's a only possible deal that Putin would trade in order to get Donetsk. He
and most of the time we see eye to eye, but it's been a remarkable experience, and this was a very, very productive meeting, and may I say, a very good lunch. Thank you. Thank you for your friendship.
Thank you very much, baby.
And thank you for your support. It's meant from the heart.
Thank you. You know, as I said outside, he's been a wartime prime minister, and we were, well, look, I guess I could say I was a wartime president in more places than just Israel, if you think about it. But Israel was a big factor, and we're with you, and we'll continue to be with you, and a lot of good things are happening in the Middle East. We have peace in the Middle East, and we're going to try and keep it that way. I think we will be very successful in keeping it that way, and you've been a great friend, and I've been a great friend to you and to Israel, and it's been my honor. And the award that I was given was really surprising and very much appreciated.
Well, President Trump has broken so many conventions to the surprise of people, and then they figure out, oh, well, maybe, he was right after all. So we decided to break a convention too, or create a new one, and that is to award the Israel Prize, which in almost our 80 years, we've never awarded it to a non-Israeli, and we're going to award it this year to President Trump. This was announced formally over lunch by our Minister of Education, who's responsible for the Israel Prize. It's going to be awarded to President Donald J. Trump for his tremendous contributions to Israel and the Jewish people. I think it's such a fitting thing, and it would honor us, obviously, Mr. President, if you could visit Israel in that occasion on our Independence Day. But I have to say that this reflects the overwhelming sentiment of Israelis across the spectrum. They appreciate what you've done to help Israel and to help our common battle against the terrorists and those who would destroy our civilization. So, again, that's an expression of thanks and appreciation.
Thank you, baby, very much. That really is a great honor. Any questions, please? We'll go pretty quickly because pretty much we agree on most of the things, and you would know what most of those things are. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to know if you and the Prime Minister talked about having Israel pull back its troops before Hamas fully disarms. I know that's been an issue. Did you push for that today?
Well, we talked about Hamas, and we talked about disarmament, and they're going to be given a very short period of time to disarm, and we'll see how that works out. Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be in charge of that from our side, but if they don't disarm, as they agreed to do, they agreed to it, and then they'll be held to pay for them. And we don't want that. We're not looking for that. But they have to disarm within a fairly short period of time.
Was Israel withdrawing its forces?
Well, that's a separate subject. We'll talk about that.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President, did you have a message for the Prime Minister about the West Bank? And are you at all concerned that settler violence, Israeli settler violence, could be undermining the peace plan?
Well, we have had a discussion, big discussion, for a long time on the West Bank, and I wouldn't say we agree on the West Bank 100%, but we'll come to a conclusion on the West Bank.
If I could ask, what is the disagreement?
Well, I don't want to do that. It'll be announced at an appropriate time. But he will do the right thing. I know that. I know him very well. He will do the right thing. Yes?
There is a growing fear of a confrontation between Israel and Turkey. How are you going to ease this tension given the fact that President Erdogan calls Mr. Netanyahu Hitler and compares Israel to the Nazis?
Well, I know President Erdogan very well, and as you all know, he's a very good friend of mine. And I believe that, and I do respect him, and Bibi respects him, and they're not going to have a problem. They're not going to have a problem. I know him very well. And you've seen me do things with President Erdogan and Turkey that nobody else could have done. We're not going to have a problem. He's done a fantastic job. I'm with him all the way. I'm with Bibi all the way. Nothing's going to happen. Yes.
Mr. President, are you concerned that Israel is not moving quickly enough to phase 2 of the peace plan?
Well, I'm not concerned about anything that Israel's doing. I'm concerned about what other people are doing or maybe aren't doing. But I'm not concerned. They've lived up to the plan. They're strong. They're solid. And sometimes they don't understand when somebody violates something that you want to give them a second chance. Well, we'll give them a couple of second chances. But no, Israel's lived up to the plan 100%. Don't forget, we made the plan
And we're coming back to you
possible.
now. And we're back. And we're back. You're on.
Well, we had a technical difficulty going back and forth between Zelensky and Trump. But the point that I was trying to make before we had the glitch was the following. Zelensky and Trump are on board the stories, right? I mean, they're on board. It seems to me they're on board 90%, but or 95%. But the 10% that they're not on board is a critical 10%. It's the Donbass 10%, I believe. And that's apparently what Putin wants more than anything else. He wants Donbass fortifications done away with so that he can, that means if you want to take the worst case scenario, so that he, at some future time, if he wants to invade Ukraine, is not going to have the difficulties of having to navigate the Donbass fortifications that in 4 years he and his vaunted army weren't able to solve, and where he lost more men than any other place in the war. Zelensky is now talking about having gotten Trump to agree to 15 years of American security in Ukraine, not just Europe, but American security. Now, as I explained last night, that's the only security that really matters, isn't it? Even NATO, the whole idea of NATO is to get the United States. One never knows where these days, England, France, Germany, where they're going to be on military arms. Trump has pushed them really, really hard, and he's gotten Germany excited about it. England goes back and forth. They're putting the armies together. They're not putting armies together. They're getting the money. They're not getting the money. And France goes back and forth. Some of the other countries are very valuable, but they're small. They're not going to supply what Ukraine needs. They can help a lot to supplement, but they're not going to supply what Ukraine needs. and maybe even the other big European countries, America not only can supply more troops and armies and everything else, it's America. It's the most powerful military in the history of the world. China has not yet passed it. It's the most lethal army ever invented by man. And it has a capacity to overperform every time it does. And it generally gets itself in trouble because of strategy choices, not because of execution. It executes brilliantly. I mean, look at Afghanistan. Yeah, sure, we left Afghanistan, but we had conquered Afghanistan. That nobody was killed in Afghanistan the last while Trump was president. He occupied it. Russia was never able to do that. In 7 years, they couldn't win in Afghanistan. We won in Afghanistan essentially in a year. Do you think if we invaded Ukraine, we wouldn't have taken it? There's a doubt about that. No, we don't want to take Ukraine. You don't think we wouldn't have taken Ukraine? Look, we took Iraq twice. Just a matter of days. Iran was in Iraq for 7 years and never got beyond the border. Nobody can take Israel. It's not easy to do what we do. You think it's easy, it looks easy. And for all their bullshit, they know how America performs when America wants to perform. They know what America can do and how it can perform. So when you say, I want American security, Zelensky knows what he's doing. That's the security that gives him the best chance. One, Putin will try it again. And two, that if he can get it locked down, and I don't know that he's pushing for it, but if I were him, I'd be pushing for a Senate ratification. He's got to take it beyond Trump, because the person making the decision 13 years from now is not going to be Donald J. Trump. It may be Zoran Mondani. I don't know. Who knows what it could be?
Right.
So the more of a governmental guarantee it is, the better. And also, he has to be, although he's not making much of it. And I hate to be arguing for him because I know what a slimy little crook he is. But he is. We are in the wrong and he is in the right. In that we did promise, we broke our word. America is not worth quite what we think it is. We promised Ukraine that if they gave up their nuclear arms, we stopped. We chickened out. We did. So Trump owes him something to rectify our loss of honor. All that I talked myself into last night that this is a deal that maybe Trump knows he can get Putin to agree to. And that's why he's moved Zelensky around to the idea if I could only have one of the two, American security is better than the Donbass fortifications.
Right.
It would be, by the way.
Yeah.
The only thing wrong with the American fortifications and help is how solid is it?
Right.
I hate to say that about my country, but I mean, we did break our word.
Right.
So I would think that would have to be worked on. Second, I get the Trump, Zelensky coming together on this. Here's what I don't get. Why would Putin agree to this? Why would Putin agree to this? I'd rather have America out and let them keep Donbass. There are about 10 other ways to skin a cat if you want to invade Ukraine again.
Right.
This may be the easiest. This may be the best. But I'd rather be invading one of those other ways without America there.
Right.
So I don't know if they're not fooling themselves on this. Well, I didn't see Putin jump at it.
Right.
I saw instead his foreign minister say there'll be a couple of subcommittees are going to meet, and subcommittees to me means that Putin wants another month to kill Ukraine. I find what Putin is doing increasingly sadistic. Each time sadistic because these two men who you see on the screen right now, Trump and Zelensky, and again, I do not have extraordinarily strong feelings for Zelensky. I know an awful lot about him that I probably shouldn't know, but I do know, and it affects my view of his judgment, how good a leader he is, how they could have done better with somebody else, how he could have really put this country in an enormously strong position to get our help and Europe's help by not allowing it to be as corrupt as it is. And, we see the corruption that came out. You don't think that Europe and the United States knew that corruption was there all during the time of this war? They're not stupid. Everyone knows what Joe Biden took. The only people that don't want to admit it are the press. Joe Biden took millions from that corrupt country. So did a lot of other Democrats. It was a feeding ground for Democrats. And this isn't the fault of the people, damn it. It's the fault of the politicians. And Zelensky wasn't one of the big, at that time, crooks. He was an actor. He worked for one of the big crooks who trained him, who taught him. Has he become one of the big crooks? Is he afraid to pull the plug on the big crooks? I don't know which it is. But he's not a man of great strength for that reason. Now, men are complicated, and I'm a person who cannot analyze complicated men. He's also been a hero in the way he's conducted himself with his country under unbelievable pressure from a frightening world power that doesn't fight like a Western country, that fights more like an Islamic country. I don't know what the Christians they are. They seem to have been trained by Muhammad on how to fight. But in any event, and now he's killing just for the purpose of killing Putin. It's really frightening to see. No reason to take out an apartment building last night in Kiev when he's not going to take Kiev. He's effectively said they can keep Kiev. So what are you killing the kids there for, Putin? Right. So I don't know, honestly, if he's ready. I don't know what his end game is. I think his end game is when Trump makes it too difficult for him to go forward. We have to reach that point. We have not reached that point. When we do, he'll quit with whatever he can get up to that point. Until then, like a little rat that he is, he's going to scratch and grab whatever he's going to grab Donbass, Zaporizhia. He's going to see what he can do. And then he'll do more and more damage to the country in general to try to weaken it. Try to see how many people he can kill during the winter and freeze them to death. And hope that Trump remains tying Zelensky's hands behind his back, because Europe is not inclined to let him go free either. Right. They're all afraid of the big bully.
Let's just watch the beginning of this press conference. We'll just watch.
With President Putin that lasted for over 2 hours. We discussed a lot of points, and I do think we're getting a lot closer, maybe very close. The president and I just spoke to the European leaders. They were President Emmanuel Macron of France, President Alexander Stubb of the Republic of Finland, President Karol Nawrocki of the Republic of Poland, Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store of the Kingdom of Norway, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni of the Italian Republic, Prime Minister Keir Starmer of the United Kingdom of Britain and Northern Ireland, Chancellor Friedrich Merz, the Federal Republic of Germany, Secretary General Mark Rutte, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, President.
We're back.
Well, there is one major disagreement between them that they kept tied up until the very end of the press conference, Ted, if you can go back to it, and I'll pick it out for you. So during the press conference, you were wondering how the heck is Zelensky reacting to this? The president, first of all, expressed his concern for Putin's health when it turned out that somebody bombed Putin's house, if they bombed his house. And of course, I whispered Ted was covering it. I whispered, it could have been one of his friends, I mean, Putin, there are many people in Russia that want to kill Putin as there are outside of Russia.
Right.
And most Russian politicians that go from the inside. Right. But in any event, it has to be a little strange to hear that he's so concerned about his health. The guy's, after all, slaughtering Putin, that is slaughtering Ukrainian people. Then he's saying that he's confident from his conversation that he's optimistic about peace, that Putin wants peace, and his assessment is that that he's gonna go in the right direction, although he's not absolutely positive. And then he made a statement toward the end. Trump did, in which he said, and even I kind of laughed at this when I heard it. He said, Russia wants to see Ukraine succeed. Well, what the hell are they at war with them for? I mean, it's ridiculous. Russia wants to see Ukraine succeed. Well, Zelensky stared forward when he said that, doing everything he could not to laugh, because I want to get in trouble with Trump again, right?
Right.
But he was very uncomfortable. But Trump was very kind to him, because Trump gave him the permission to laugh by saying that some may view that assessment as strange.
Yeah.
You could almost tell he was adding that. I wonder if you can catch that. It's a very, very interesting interchange between two men. And it also gives you how realistic Trump is and how he realizes that his assessment of Putin is not everybody's assessment of Putin.
Right. I'll try to find that. We'll work on that.
And he spent a 2-hour conversation on the phone with him, even with the translations. I talked to Putin for 2 hours. God. I mean, he's down to making a decision now. So if we can find him, that would be great.
This is when Trump says Russia wants to see Ukraine succeed.
Yeah, and then right after that, it goes into the little cute picture of Zelensky. What I was referring to, by the way, is they bombed or blitzed. They describe it as blitzed Putin's home the other day, and Putin immediately blamed it on the Ukrainians. Although that would be quite an intelligence victory for them. Right. I tend to think it's one of his. Look, he's a dictator in a violent group of, like him, KGB trained murderers.
Here's Zelensky smiling.
Yeah. No, this wasn't it, Ted. This was during. Maybe.
Succeed. Once it sounds a little strange, but I was explaining to the president, President Putin, Russia wants to see Ukraine succeed. Once it sounds a little strange, but I was explaining to the president.
That's funny.
I thought he was. You'd have to watch the whole thing to see how often he had to restrain himself when the president was saying something about Putin that everyone knows he disagrees with, but that one really, that he wants Russia to succeed, was a little much. So he was about ready to break out laughing. I think Trump realized it, and he said, "That's a little strange." Some people see that as a little strange. And he goes, the meeting with Bibi, of course, didn't have any of that tension because their act is easy to see now. This has never been a tense situation like the one with Zelensky. They've been on the same side throughout, and even when they do have disagreements, they're staged. They're staged to give America more bargaining room. So America's the good guy and Israel's the bad guy. Good cop, bad cop. If something has to be done to fix up because Israel went too far, America's got the room to do that. It puts Trump in a much better position to deal with the Arab leaders, particularly Saudi Arabia. Bibi appreciates that. How can I tell? Because he doesn't, the president's temperament is totally different. When he's dealing with one of the things Bibi did that overstepped, he's very calm, he's very measured, never says anything personal, and says, I'll talk to him about it. And then we never hear about his talking to him about it. And then the next thing he tells you, he's the greatest prime minister in the history of Israel. He's as great as Churchill. And with me, he may even be better, greater. And, you know, it's like, and then he said, well, I contributed a little too. And then people said, oh, yes, you did. It's the two of us together. And I mean, the two of them have a thing going. And they also have a thing going in terms of strategy that's fabulous. It is fabulous. I mean, this whole thing with, I think it's, there's a good example of it right now in the middle of the love feast between the two of them. They couldn't say, I mean, Ted started it off with his question about asking him what he's, the president's going to give you the Medal of Freedom, not me. He's going to see you there. He said, I'm going to give it to Ted, not him. He's been nicer to me recently. The question you asked was like, you did it so nicely and so professionally, but
I don't want to be too much of a sucker.
But it sounded like one. No, you did it. Can you play that again? Got a lot of views, my friend.
The importance of a strong relationship with the state of. One question, Mr. President, can you expound on the importance of a strong relationship with the state of Israel? And Mr. Prime Minister, you've called President Trump the strongest friend for the state of Israel. You've worked with numerous administrations, numerous presidents. Can you expound on that and what makes President Trump such a strong friend for the state of Israel? And Mr. Prime Minister, you've called President Trump the strongest friend for the state of Israel. You've worked with numerous administrations, numerous presidents. Can you expound on that and what makes President Trump such a strong friend for the state of Israel? What are you going first?
I'll say it again and again and again. We've never had a friend like President Trump in the White House. It's not even close. And I think you can judge that by not merely by the frequency of our meetings, but by the content and the intensity. I think Israel is very blessed to have President Trump leading the United States, and I'll say leading the free world at this time. I think it's not merely Israel's great fortune, I think it's the world's great fortune.
Well, I just want to say that it's very important who the Prime Minister and President of Israel is. We have a great relationship. It was an honor to speak before your leaders. That was a great honor for me. I think it has not happened before, or something they told me. But the relationship's been extraordinary, and Bibi's a strong man. He can be very difficult on occasion, but you need a strong man. If you had a weak man, you wouldn't have Israel right now. Israel would have been, you know, Israel with most other leaders would not exist today. They would not exist. And now they're stronger than ever. Yeah, please.
I mean, that's about as good as it gets. So when the president inserted that, first of all, he came down very strong on Iran. He said he's been reading about how Iran is screwing around with nuclear material again. And if they get to a point that he and Bibi are unhappy with, Bibi's free to, first of all, Bibi will be free to do anything he wants. And maybe I'll hit him again. Right? He left it a little conditional. Although he almost kept talking himself into it as he was talking about it. He said, I will have to hit him again. Then then you asked him the other question, and I don't think he volunteered the bilateral. No, as part of. I thought maybe Bibi might be a little upset with you for doing that. The bilateral thing, but I like the answer because I really do believe that this is the good guy, bad guy thing. Maybe Bibi's a little uncomfortable with it. I can't tell. Let's look at his face. But I thought last time they played this as good guy, bad guy beautifully. In other words, Trump says, yeah, I'll meet with them bilateral. Bibi says, no, he's a scumbag. You shouldn't. And then he's, it makes it easier with the Arab world to bring them in if you defeat them, I'm not sure if.
Mr.
President,
Mr. President, is the United States currently open to engaging in bilateral discussions with Tehran? We're hearing reports from numerous countries that there may be some discussions. Is that something you would support or something that is happening? You would support that happening right now. Thank you, sir.
I have been, by the way, before the war, I would support that. I said to him, baby, I said, let's negotiate. And they didn't believe what was going to happen would happen.
Yes,
Mr. President,
I'm playing cameraman while I'm asking the question, if you know
What?
I'm playing cameraman while I'm asking the question, right?
Yeah. So I don't know, but take it from me. He doesn't want a bilateral meeting with him. He'll find something to screw it up if it happens. And this is being done to give him more negotiating room with the Arab countries, and let Bibi be the bad guy on this, because there isn't anything he can gain on that in that area right now. And it was a good answer.
Right.
It was a good answer. It puts them in a much better position if we have to blow the shit out of them again, which I think we're going to have to.
Right.
Let's get through the other things quickly, because people have to get ready for New Year's Eve.
Right.
Tomorrow night, you will see us dressed up as waiters.
Right.
Because we'll be going to festivities of one kind or another. Let's see what we have here. He also has absolutely no problem with Bibi hitting on Hamas as much as possible. He's made it very, very clear he's completely frustrated with Hamas not disarming, and they're going to get pounded until they do. And if it has to, and if the arms have to be taken away from them, he did say something that I think was a little bit of an exaggeration, but it doesn't matter. He said, we'll come in, and the rest of the countries of Europe will come in and take them away from you. If we went in there and took it away from them, they'd be gone in 3 days. They'd also go back into their little holes and not come out again, ever.
Right.
Never again. We never see them again.
Right.
So I would say that Bibi and the president are about as united as they're about as united as you can be. I would ask both of them to take note of, and here I'd ask the White House. The White House has two groups on Iran. They've got the Iran realists, and they have the Iran silly people. The silly people are the people that think you can never have peace in the Middle East while the Ayatollah is there. And that regime change is not a necessary part of the Abraham Accords if you want to get them done. And that the threat of a nuclear Iran makes Iran too darn powerful in that region, and therefore destabilizes it, and definitely prevents any kind of a secure peace with Israel. Well, there are protests going on now in Tehran. And I don't know, we'll get the footage for tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get Ali Reza to get it for us.
Right.
And they can be heard chanting the Farsi word for freedom, Azadi. They're chanting in large groups. This is second day. today was the second day of demonstrations in Tehran at the bazaar. And in one video demonstration, they're chanting Azadi, the Farsi word for freedom. Another shows security forces in riot gear firing tear gas at them. Sounds like January 6th. And the footage was verified by Storyful, which is owned by News Corporation, which is the parent company of the Wall Street Journal. Merchants were also protesting in several bazaars. And they broke out in about 5 different locations. The government has been carrying on a very, very intense but very quiet crackdown on dissidents. The whole idea about the MEK not being very powerful has now been completely shattered by the fact that the Ayatollah constantly talks about them and constantly talks about the necessity to eliminate them.
Right.
Has gone so far as to say they're the only group that really troubles him. And I think they're very weakened by what happened, what Israel did to them, what the U.S. did to them. Israel not only bombing them, not only making them, neutering them as a country with an air defense, but really penetrating them. A lot of the attacks that Israel brought off were drone attacks from a building 2 blocks away from the building they hit. They wanted to do precise taking out of scientists. And they did it with drones, but the drones didn't come over from Israel. The drones were done by plants inside Iran. And I think we know how they did that. But obviously, the Iranians had to be aware they would try that, but they had no way to stop it. They were not able to stop deep penetration by Israeli spies. Well, that deep penetration by Israeli spies is aided by groups in Iran that are on Israel's, that work with Mossad.
Right.
Probably Mossad has the best working relationship with an enemy country, with Iran. It's deep, it's long. They took out all the nuclear scientists once. They took out all the nuclear scientists twice. They're doing it a third time. Iran is undergoing a very deep drop in currency. The rial's weakness is extraordinarily dangerous. They had to raise gasoline prices. You can go on and on and on. Here, this is a country. Let's keep that in mind. You do the world a favor to take that Ayatollah out. Everybody would thank you for it, really, really. Meanwhile, while this is all going on, China is playing make-believe takeover of Taiwan because their nose is out of joint that we're selling Taiwan $11 billion worth of the most sophisticated equipment known to man to prevent China from taking Taiwan. This was a deal that was desired for about 5 years, and finally Trump gave into it. I think Trump gave into it to a large extent when he gave the impression that maybe he wasn't as enthusiastic about defending Taiwan as Biden was and some others. And no one would do this deal. And doing this deal is a big commitment to Taiwan. You don't do a deal like this if you're not ready to defend them. And China said as much and was very upset with it. So he risked other relationships with China to do this. So this was a good step, and also one that sends China a message, which is why they're trying to send a message back.
Right.
We've made our first hit on territorial Venezuela. Now it's just a little over, right at the dock. We took out a drug boat. Trump said there was a major explosion in the dock area where they load the boats up with drugs. We hit all the boats, and now we hit the area. It's the implementation area. Then later on, it was surmised that maybe this was a surreptitious covert operation, because neither the CIA or the FBI or anybody would confirm it. And I'm saying to myself, get your story straight, boys. The president unconverted it.
Right.
President gets to decide if it's a covert operation. If he's going to say we hit the boat in the dock, it's not a covert operation anymore, boys.
Right.
Maybe it was going to be, maybe it wasn't, but now it isn't.
Right.
Before you go, and before we get into the new year, and we're going to talk about this tomorrow a bit. First of all, let me say to Barry Weiss, who's holding up I'm sure the absolutely biased, disgusting, ridiculous documentary that CBS is doing on the CCOT prison in El Salvador.
Right.
They've only the guards and no one will talk to them except the prisoners. What are the prisoners are going to say? This is a wonderful prison.
Yeah.
We really like it here. We're treated very, very well. You know what they're going to do? What do prisoners always do? You go into a prison, you interview the prisoners for shit.
Yeah.
So I'm sure Barry Weiss wants the White House to comment. White House isn't going to comment. First of all, it's not their prison. The people there are not our citizens, and the prison is not our prison. Tough. Turkey keeps moving Russian oil for the benefit of Russia and the EU countries, the traitor EU countries that are playing with Russia, even though they supposedly like Ukraine. And Erdogan, Mr. President, some of your friends I do not like. Erdogan's another one. Oh, does he stink?
Yeah.
Interesting thing at Harvard, and we'll conclude with this. There has been a professor at Harvard for 40 years. His name is Dr. James Hankins. He is a world-renowned expert on classical civilization, on Western civilization, really, which of course is the most critical civilization to the world that we live in, without any doubt, the most consequential and the most important. And that is a statement of fact, not of opinion. If you are a historian of any worth, there are things that get to be, so obvious that, like, America won the Second World War. That's a fact now. It's not an opinion any longer, except maybe to Fuentes and a few of those people. Well, James Hankins, after 40 years of teaching at Harvard and writing some of the main textbooks, on Western civilization, including one that he just did with a 2-volume work that he just did with a co-author. So this is just about the book, I think, was just published about 4 months ago. Is leaving Harvard because there's no room for Western civilization. Isn't that a shame? He says to Daniel McCarthy, we have not hired with tenure a historian in a Western field, ancient, medieval, early modern, or modern, in a decade. Hankins says about his Harvard department, which in that time has also lost 8 senior historians in Western fields, all major figures through death, retirement, or departure to other university. I will be the 9th, and I'm not expecting to be replaced. The replacement of Western history by global history has done serious harm, he warned Monday in Compact magazine. When you don't teach the young what civilization is, it turns out people become uncivilized. When you don't teach the young what civilization is, it turns out people become uncivilized. You saw it at Harvard. You saw it at Yale. You saw it at NYU, and you saw it at those girls from Fordham, a Catholic school. When you don't teach the young what civilization is, it turns out people become uncivilized. In the 40 years that Hankins taught at Harvard, he saw his profession shift its focus from European civilizations to cultures historically considered barbarian, like Muhammad. In this absurdist rendering of world history, Central Asian people are presented as the drivers of cultural innovation, spreading their benign, spreading their benign tendencies. Via the Silk Road. This is called decentering the West, where Western countries are literally put in their place as an ugly growth on the backside of Eurasia. Mongol hordes aren't the only protagonists of the new history, however. Anyone who isn't white just isn't qualified. Admitting a white male was not happening. Also, in the program, they don't admit white males generally. In 2021, the best student at Harvard, a white man with the top overall academic record in his class, was rejected from all the graduate programs to which he applied. I called around to friends at several universities everywhere. It was the same story. Graduate admissions committee around the country have been following the same unspoken protocol for years. This one exception I found to the general exclusion of white males had begun. The one exception I found to the rule of taking white males was one that had begun life as a female. Get it?
Wow.
Hankins was one of the mere 3% of Harvard faculty who identified as a conservative. 3%. We're almost 50, if not 50% of the country. Yet even progressive scholars now admit the problem. Another professor, we went overboard in trying to boost some groups over the others. Well, that's a sort of a statement. Harvard and its peers have replaced Western history with global history and merit with identity politics. If scholars of Hankins' caliber continue migrating to the freer and fairer soils of places like Florida, Harvard itself will be replaced eventually too. Daniel, you're right. It will be. I believe he'll be teaching at the Florida Hamilton School of Classical and Civic Education. You can get his 2-volume textbook there or here, or you can get it on Amazon. It's on Amazon right now. It does cost $100, but it's a textbook, and it teaches you Western, 2 volumes, and it teaches you Western culture about as well as you're going to be taught Western culture, which was a great offering at Harvard, at Columbia, which distinguished Columbia as one of the great schools for the longest time. This is a tragedy. I don't know if you realize how much this has affected us, how much it's caused all these Marxists that infiltrate us, how we end up every once in a while saying, how do they all vote for Mondami? Because the way they were educated. So we'll be back tomorrow night. We'll spend a little time on Mondami because it's the last day that New York will be free. If you want to go to New York and see it before it becomes a communist city, I would suggest going tomorrow. You might not want to go to the ball drop, but you might want to go to the city and shop, or take advantage of the after Christmas sales, or just see what a free city looks like.
Right.
Adams is still in charge, and you can tell from his attitude he ain't giving it up until midnight. And he has had suggestions to cancel the celebration, as some places are doing. Mostly in Europe, they are.
Really?
Yeah. I think Paris. Yeah, I mean, actually, the wife was willing to do the security because Macron was afraid, but they didn't think it would look good if she got out there, if his mother got out there and did the right.
Wow. So they must have some serious threats.
Yeah, how about they have a lot of Muslims?
Yeah, gee, I wonder what's a major difference between now and 30 years ago with
There are
these
more of them.
European cities? Yeah, exactly.
And they're much more enabled now. The Muslims are much more enabled, and we're just as stupid about and ignorant about what Muslims are all about. And we become euphemistic when we talk about them, which is why we never say, if somebody says Allah Akbar, because we don't want to chalk it up as another Muslim murder, because we don't want people to be sufficiently aware of the danger they really face. And we don't explain the Quran to them, all of which is going to be solved for you next year, because we're going to spend time on that, and particularly on our new podcast. And both on this show and on the podcast, we're going to spend a lot of time educating you on the pressure points that are creating the situation that we're in, that Trump is trying to turn around. The real things that he's fighting that are below the surface, that can't be seen every day, can't be mentioned all the time. And it doesn't do any good you have to just fight them. But you have to know what you're fighting in order to win. We are fighting to defend Western civilization. You might say we're crusaders of a different kind, but we're crusaders for a country that is a country under God, a country where our rights come from God, a country that admits that its religion, its original religion was the Christian religion on which it was built, that religion was extraordinarily affected by Judeo-Christian, because Christian is the New Testament of which the Old Testament is a part. So you're not changing very much if you say Christian values or Judeo-Christian values. You are changing a lot if you say Muslim values, because Muhammad had no values. By abrogation, which I will explain to you, he did away with all of the peaceful parts of the Quran. Every Muslim that tells you that it's a peaceful religion is lying to you if he's an educated Muslim, because in the Quran, the last teaching abrogates the earlier teaching. And when the early Muhammad told you to be friendly with the Jews and the Christians in order to suck them in, when he changed it, he said, you should not be friends at all. There's a direct quotation in to not be friends with Christians and Jews. And there are direct quotations rewarding you for killing them. It is the explanations and the lies about it are legendary, and it's one of the reasons we're in the position that we're in, and why these countries are given such deference when they should never have been. But we got to work our way out of it, and we've got God on our side. So let's pray for the people of Israel, that peace comes and that Hamas gets disarmed and they can move on with peace. Let's hope that Ukraine can work out a peace that's a really solid one with American support. And let's not be as worried about supporting them as we are. They're people like us. Their leadership, horrible. A lot of the countries that we love and care about and work with have horrible leadership. They still love us and we love them, the people. Let's pray for the people of Iran who are protesting again. Every time they're protesting, there's always a chance, pop up. That'd change everything, boy. You'd see all those countries walk away from Iran. A lot of the reasons they're afraid to walk away from Palestinians, by the way, is Iran. But they have no love for Iran. Look, Jordan won't let them in. Egypt won't let them in. They're not college kids at Columbia or Fordham or who are jackasses about Hamas or who think that Palestinians are really terrific. And they know Palestinians were brought up from 2 years old to kill Jews and kill Americans. And some can change, but a lot can't, and most don't. So a lot changes. You get rid of that Ayatollah. A lot. And China and Russia take a little bango here. So stay tuned tomorrow for all your instructions on how to have a safe New Year's. Our brief review of the year, very brief. It's been such a fast year. Seems like it just happened. But we'll go with 5. Top 5 for me and top 5 for you. We'll see if we can wrestle in Dr. Maria. She'll be getting, I'm sure, all beautified.
Right.
Maybe we'll see her halfway through.
Right.
And we're still just a few days after Christmas and a couple of days before the presentation in the temple. And of course, the Feast of Kings, the Epiphany, is coming up, which concludes on the 12 days of Christmas. And is the Christmas for our Greek Orthodox brothers, our Armenian brothers, our Russian Orthodox brothers, and our Armenians, and some of the other Orthodox. Some of the Orthodox also celebrate on the 25th. So it depends on the sect. But I used to love to go to Christmas Mass, the Armenian church, on the Epiphany when I was mayor. It was another Christmas.
Yeah.
So we'll see you tomorrow night at 8.
Last show of the year.
Last show of the year. Another great year. Really great year this year, huh? Great president, made great changes. A lot of problems, but a lot of solutions too. And almost every problem has a road to a solution. I mean, if you have a road to a solution, doesn't mean you get there. But when we run to the other guy and being governed by the Politburo, well, that's gone. We can have a happy new year. Pray for those people that are in trouble. Pray for the greater glory of America, for the health and safety of our president, for his good judgment. And God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common